Good afternoon. Welcome, of course, to Wealth by Design here on Edge Radio Australia. The man, the absolute, the maestro when it comes to these things about finance and linking people together. Hey, it's Jeff Bowman. Good to see you, mate.
Thanks very much, Aaron. Lovely to be here once again.
Mate.
Almost part of the furniture.
I think so, yeah. You just fit in very, very comfortable. You do look very comfortable, mate.
Thanks,
absolutely.
mate. And it's a very comfortable couch.
It is. We could fall asleep, but we've got big things to talk about, so let's not do that. Today we're going to talk about a subject that it is fundamental to life in Australia.
It is.
Super. Okay, It's the elephant in the room so often. It's the thing we don't talk about, the way it's sold as this product, and comparing the pairs and all of that sort of thing.
Yes.
I would tend to suggest most people should compare elsewhere, but that's my opinion more to the point. So with super, look, we used to always think about retiring at 60. Mm-hmm. Now that's pretty much something for self-funded retirees, and 67 being the magic number for if you want that horrible pension.
For the old pension.
Look, obviously the earlier you get at this, the earlier you start saving, putting money in your super and doing the smart thing with, I think it's a smart thing by putting as much as you possibly can in, using all of the rules and regulations to your maximum advantage. Now, if you can do that early, great, but some of us have got to come in a bit late. Life has gone on another turn. Let's just jump into some of the shortcuts, if you like. I mean, there's no shortcuts to success, but I guess ways of kind of supercharging your super. Will that work?
Yeah, look, there are. As you were talking there, I thought of something that I delivered inclusively in a bit of a presentation recently. I said, look, the first people that could ever afford super in the 70s were public servants, because the government was the only employer that could afford it, right?
Good point.
Yeah, and the formula that they had in the 70s to calculate the lump sum payout for the public servants that were sort of selected to get access to super was 7 times the final average salary. Right.
Okay.
And so the immediate question you get from people is, why'd they pick 7?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, tell me, mate, because I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. So, so they would average your last 3 years of salary.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have had a pay rise from sort of 90 to 100.
Yep.
Average that over there, 90, 95 and 100, get an average. And then they go, righto, well, your lump sum at age 65 is 7 times your average last 3 years' salary. And the reason it was 7 was because that was the life expectancy of a male.
Ooh,
7 years from, so at 72, you're meant to be dead.
Gee, so much to look forward to. Thanks for that, mate. Yeah, when you said that, I'm thinking to myself, what is this possibly based on? But that makes horrible sense.
Yeah, but the average life expectancy of a male today is about 86.
There we go. And it was 72 or
And it was 72.
72.
So it's an interesting one, because people would go, righto, well, I'm meant to be dead by 72, and most of them were.
Yeah.
Because they would come home after a whole lifetime of work.
Yep.
And they hadn't developed often many other interests outside work. And they were programmed to be going, well, I'm going to run out of money at 72, may as well die. It's not as simple as that, but it's generally speaking what was programmed. Yeah. So the interesting number, isn't it? Because that's how they came up with it. It
really is.
Because that was the life expectancy of a male.
Okay, because the question that I have been asked that many times since you and I have been talking is, okay, how much money should I have aside in my super? What's the magic figure? Right. So in 2025, obviously it's going to change as time changes and inflation and all the other factors. But okay, right now, boom, if I was lucky enough to retire, good luck with that. But if I was, what number would I need in the old super to be a comfortable retiree?
Well, everyone's lifestyle expectations are different, right? Yep. So you have an expectation of a certain lifestyle during your working life, depending on where you fit into the system, right? Mm-hmm. And so obviously a lifestyle expectation, say, of a neurosurgeon would be higher than that of maybe a cabinet maker in a small workshop.
Yep, makes sense.
Not to say that, but it'd be fair to say that most neurosurgeons earn more than a cabinet maker.
Of course, yeah.
And so what I find with a question like that, given that everyone's lifestyle expectations are different from the time they stop work compared to what they've been enjoying during their working life, is the number 6.
Okay. All right.
Right.
You and your numbers, mate. You've always got
Yeah.
one. You know?
I thought I'd pull that one out.
Okay. Well.
So you say, well,
Mhm.
6. Why 6? Well, let's say you get 6% of your lump sum. Would that be enough? So your lump sum in your super.
Okay.
So you
Per
got
annum,
round
obviously.
numbers, right? Got $1 million.
Yep.
6% of $1 million is 60 grand.
Yep.
Can you run your household, look after your grandkids, run your car, blah, 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 on $5 grand a month?
Yep. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to do
5 12 to 60, right?
Yep. And like some people, the retirement might be, you know what, loading up the four-wheel drive in the caravan and doing a lap. Other people might be, you know, a house with a fishing boat and a four-wheel drive and the whole all
Totally.
the toys, right?
Everyone's different.
Exactly right.
Running a boat and say 2 cars, a four-wheel drive and a boat and maybe a caravan.
Yep.
Right. Many people's ideal lifestyle retirement plan.
Yep.
Has a certain set of numbers attached to it as far as the fuel, the insurance, the maintenance, blah, 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 you know. And so you go, well, if you keep using the magic number 60, you go, well, I've only got $500,000 in super.
Yep.
Well, 6% of $500,000, 30 grand a year.
30 grand a year.
Yeah.
So the trip to Europe that you've been dreaming about all your life, that can't happen on 30 grand a year. No way.
No. Now that's you've got to qualify that because that is on the basis that your yield, your income from your capital assets is essentially 6%, right?
Okay.
So Australian equities plus franking credit add backs, things like that, will give you around about 6%. So that also assumes that you're going to preserve the bulk of the capital for a rainy day.
That's a
because you never know when the fridge is going to blow up. You need to replace your car. One of your children gets into strife and they need help. Blah, blah, blah. Or especially if you're an immigrant and you've got aging parents living in England, you go, well, sorry, but Dad's crook. We've got to go. You know.
Yeah, and that's. Oh, look, that rainy day money is so important.
Yeah.
If you have got someone overseas and a family member gets sick, you want to go. Okay, I'm not waiting around and kind of think, oh, when can I afford or can I start saving up for a ticket? You want to jump on that plane,
and then you can draw down on your capital.
Yeah,
because in super you can draw down your capital.
Okay.
Because you've got access to the full capital amount. You can take the whole lot out and put it on black at the casino if you want to, right? And so, does that go about answering your question? Because everyone's lifestyle.
No, I like it. I mean, it's a hard one. Okay, so
as a rough guide, use 6%.
So, all right, use 6%. Okay, so let's just work on the principle of most people that I know what they want in retirement. Okay, so most people I know nowadays in retirement, they're looking at, we paid the mortgage off. Okay. We've got the car, we've got a toy. The toy might be, it might be a Winnebago, it might be a fishing boat, whatever. We've got those two major assets there, I guess, for that, and the running costs of those.
Yes.
We want to look at a trip every couple of years, and obviously, not scrimp and save, just comfortably cruise along.
Yes.
What kind of figure would I be looking at to have in super to achieve that? I know I'm asking you how long is a piece of string, but this is the question people are asking me.
Look, I don't know that you could run all of that for under $6,000 a month.
No.
Because you've got to run your house.
Yep.
So all your main expenses stay the same.
Yeah, they do.
So you've stopped work. In many cases, your expenses could go up because you're not just getting the bus and going to work and staying there all day and working, right?
That's a great point.
You're actually going, well, hang on a minute. I'm a bit bored. I'm going to grab the golf clubs and go and have a hit.
Yep.
So that's costs there.
Of course there are. Yeah.
And then you'll go to lunch, which you'll pay for lunch.
Yeah.
You're not going to take a cut lunch to the golf club.
No.
Right.
No, yeah.
But you would have taken a cut lunch to work.
You would. Yeah.
And so the upper echelon of the middle class that have been earning their 200 to 300 combined income.
Okay.
Most of these guys generally, to maintain their lifestyle, and the standard of holidays they've been using, they've been accessing, type of cars they like driving, 8,000 to 10,000 a month net.
Net.
All right.
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So that's after this, but it is net because if it's all coming out of super,
Right.
it's
yeah.
tax free.
Of course.
And I think that's why super is such an incredibly important thing to talk about today, because as we've said it numerous times, it's most unfortunately super has been misrepresented by the government and the big institutions.
Agreed. Yeah.
The banks have been notorious for misrepresenting super because they've all been product flogging merchants. Flog a product with a margin. That's how they feed the machine.
Yeah.
Feed their staff, meet their costs, build profits for the shareholders.
Just as a retail product.
This is and they've been flogging super as a product, and it's been terribly misleading because you could ask most people half a dozen basic questions about their own super.
Yeah.
And they'll be lucky. They'll be lucky to get 10% of the questions right. And it's their money and it's their retirement. So the lack of knowledge is incredible. Yeah.
I agree. And I was having a conversation just this week, actually, with a mate of mine, 30 years old. Okay. He's got a very good life. Life's been, he's very, very smart, very vigilant about his saving and all of that kind of thing. And they've got a lovely home. But, he and his wife are working. They've got a young baby. So from that point of view, work is, lost a bit of work time. But the diligence of the fact that we're talking about four things: income protection insurance. And I was so happy that he said to me, "Oh, I've actually got that as part of my super."
Yeah.
And most people don't know that, right?
No,
okay.
no.
They don't know the product they've bought or buying, that they're involved with. So we sort of talked on and on and on, and it was enlightening to me to see how switched on he was as far as this goes, because most people I talk to don't know that there is income protection for taking most super. Don't know about all the different
the life and TPD.
Yeah, absolutely. The stuff that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I think if you did know that, you would live your life very differently. You know that
you're just more informed and you're a bit more confident. You're not in the dark.
Yeah, and this thing with the 5 years of topping up your super.
Yeah.
Look, I wish everybody knew that.
Yeah.
It would make such a difference.
I know. It's a fantastic thing. And that's the beauty of this show, because, we do get the basics out there explained in a simple way. Why don't we just give a working example of that right now, Aaron? What Aaron's talking about there, guys, is going as close to your maximum contribution into super as a tax deduction that you're allowed each year.
Yep.
And it is $30,000 now. So if you're on 100 grand base salary, your employer has to put in 11.5%, which is the superannuation guarantee levy. So 11,500 goes in. There's a big gap between 11,500 and 30,000. And so as much of that up to 30 that you can put in as a tax deduction, for 100% tax deductible.
Yeah.
You do. You really got to do it because it's a free hit from the government. And
you're saving for the future, which is a very positive thing anyway, right? You're getting the tax break. None of us love paying tax. So to minimise your tax in a legitimate way is a very smart play.
Yeah.
This is almost like everyone's obsessed with insurance policies. You're insuring your lifestyle in your future, right?
Yeah, well put.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's a key thing. And salary sacrifice of super is one of the most underutilized wealth creation tools in this country. And it's largely because people have not been explained to them.
Sure.
They've been given a super fund when they get a job.
Yep.
Sign here, press hard, 3 copies. Oh, by the way, you've got choice. Oh, okay. Well, I've got my own Colonial First Date. Plug that one in.
Yep.
And the employer will put into that, because employers have got choice and employees have got choice, more to the point of where they want their super to go. But of course, they just provide a number and a bank account for the employer to put the money in.
Correct.
They actually don't know the main features about their super. They actually don't know about the full tax deduction up to 30 grand. It hasn't always been 30 grand. It was 27,500 before 1 July last year for a few years. But it's around about that. And of course, we had a couple that hadn't been putting super in from the day they became self-employed. They're medical people.
This is a really common
Yeah,
thing.
I know,
Really
like
is.
professional people,
Yeah.
and they were going, yeah, look, we're really good psychotherapists, but we don't know anything about this, and we wouldn't know how to do it. And that was in response to my question: did you meet the June 30 deadline to make sure you put your 30 grand in? Because they're self-employed.
Yep.
They don't have an employer putting the 11.5 in, or their
That's right.
whatever, 11.5% of whatever their gross is. And I said, well, why didn't you do that? And they said, no, didn't really know how to go about it. No one really talks so much about it. And we're really good psychotherapists, but we're hopeless with money.
Well, again, okay, the whole wealth creation sort of industry, when it comes to financial advisors, it really, this is a bigger bugbear with me. The government have made that financially so out of touch for so much of Australia because of the, in my opinion, over-regulation. Okay,
Yeah.
look, I want good financial advisors. I want them to be qualified. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I don't want any sharks in the industry. So regulation's important to a degree, but when you over-regulate and they push the cost up, it's kept most Aussies out of the game, of knowledge anyway.
Mate, it's a real issue. I mean, it's been very badly managed for the bulk of my working life, really, because, you know, I mean, I got in the game in the late 80s. We were the man from Prudential, mate. I had a hat like yours. Man from Prudential. But it was a bowler hat, mate. Not a
bowler hat, no, not the fedora. No,
yeah,
there we
fedora. And then, of course, we set the financial planning company up in 1996.
Yep.
And first fee-for-service financial planning company in Australia, Aaron.
You know what? That is something to put the old feather in the cap.
Yeah. That was a bit innovative at the time.
I bet. I bet.
And so we reckon we're right on the leading edge of all the modern stuff, because we basically said, look, you need to be comfortable with your lifestyle before we even start talking about money.
Yep.
You know, standard of education for your kids, the house you want to live in, the sort of car you want to drive, the sort of holidays you want to take, you know, blah, 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 blah. You get that right, and then you can build financial modelling around that,
of course,
which is about the wealth creation, the paying off the house debt, and of course, the consumer protection lobbies became so powerful because of a few crooks, right? They're in every industry.
Of course, every industry.
Not that there's any in the shock jock industry.
Just a few. Yeah, just a few.
Kyle.
Good old Kyle. He's doing all right.
And good to see you don't have a gold mic, mate.
Oh, mate, I would never have a... no, just so cheesy. No.
But anyway, getting back to your point about regulation, and so with PI and a CRM and ASIC licensing fees, professional indemnity insurance.
Yeah.
Thank you. We it's up to about 85 grand now, but there was no change out of 60,000 that I had to pay in licensing fees for my financial planners before I paid them a salary.
This makes it tough. I mean, that's another, effectively another salary for another staff member.
I know, it's incredible.
It is, and with all the levels of insurance, because that's not the only one. I mean, having a business is really tough, okay? And it's really easy to criticise from the outside looking in. But once you know you've been in the game, geez, you're attacked at every level, it feels like. And I mean, I know for myself, I just feel like every single day I'm paying another government levy. Like there's just government everywhere, every sort of organisation. Now, I do want my financial advisors, I want the people handling my money to be good. I want them to be regulated, but I also don't want them to be regulated so much that the cost of their insurance and their costs go through the roof that I can't afford the service anymore.
I know. They might, so they'll charge between $5,000 to $10,000 for a statement of advice, a financial planner, and that's after tax, right? There's no tax deduction for that.
Really?
No, it's not tax deductible.
Yeah,
and so it's a capital amount, and for a lot of people, it's gone, crikey dick, it's a lot of money. And so that's why only about 12% of Australians access financial planning advice. And so my new role with Wealth by Design, of course, is just on the education side, because we can't give advice now.
But this is the beauty of it. You've opened yourself. You've opened everybody up to the opportunity of actually getting put into the right directions rather than being priced out of the market.
Totally, So
it's a big difference.
So we will, our clients now understand what the responsibilities are of a trustee for a corporate trust.
Sure.
Of course, a corporate trustee for a super fund. Let's say that a self-managed super fund.
Okay.
They understand they can put 120 grand a year in as an after-tax contribution to super.
Mm-hmm.
They can understand they can put 30 grand a year in, inclusive of the employee contribution. They can understand that they can have 1.9 million each in super. And after age 60 and in pension phase, they'll receive no taxation, either income or capital gains tax, on anything up to 1.9 million. Now, that goes to 2 million on the 1st of July this year.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of people shake their heads and go, what? Is that right? And I say, yes, it is. And it is the most brilliant wealth creation tool the government could ever have invented, but it's been sadly hijacked by product flogging institutions who have missed the piece about, hey, it's a bloody tax structure. Like, we had a couple in Hobart the other day phone up and book in for a chat, and then we had a long chat a couple of days later. And they're real big property people.
Okay.
And they've worked on the principle of, no, we want to do property, not super.
Yeah.
And that was the first opening line. And this woman is a highly educated architect.
Right.
And her husband's no slouch at all, but they're big property people.
Okay.
And they own farms and all sorts of stuff. And I said to this girl, I said, look, do you realise you can have both? Property, your preferred asset class,
yes,
and super. You can put it all together and just make sure it's in a more tax-effective environment. And she looked at me sideways as if to say, on a Zoom call, sideways, and had no knowledge, no knowledge at all about that. It was like super here, property here.
Right.
We're going to buy 3 or 4 properties over this period.
Sure.
We'll sell a couple off and pay off the debt on the other ones.
Yep.
And that will provide the income we want in retirement. Now, that's fine, but it's all taxable income.
Well, exactly what I was about to say. I mean, one thing I've certainly learned from speaking to you, and I've always known about capital gains tax, obviously, right? But I didn't realise how intelligently and how very legally and in a structured way you can save hundreds of thousands of dollars in capital gains tax, right? So if you're working hard to build these assets, you're building up your portfolio, and Australia is obsessed with property, as we know.
Yep.
By doing it a little bit in a more structured way and using your super, there's that horrible capital gains tax. Yeah, you can circumvent it. Effectively.
It's just people leave so much money on the table.
Yeah.
So this architect, she wanted to get into doing some consulting work and be proactive and find a block of land, and knows a bit about the NDIS thing because she's designed some NDIS houses for the disabled. And I said, yes, look, it's actually possible for to get a whole bunch of cash into your self-managed super fund.
Sure.
That super fund can put a deposit down on a block of land, right? And it does it via what's called a bare trust. It's all got to be done properly and within all the legal frameworks.
Of course.
And explain what a bare trust was, and explain that super funds can't borrow against their own assets, which is the reason that you do this. So it's all legal.
Okay.
And then you can organise your lender to come and build the NDIS property to your design,
right? Because
you're the architect and you know what you're doing, right? And you might have had a involvement in sourcing the property because you're pretty crafty, you've got good connections.
Well, you're in the industry.
You're in the industry, right? Yeah, that's so good.
So
all the stuff she wanted to do.
Yep.
But now, of course, it's the family self-managed super fund. Once you've got that new property built on that block of land that was secured by the deposit from the super fund, your own family super fund.
Yep.
Then, and you've got it tenanted, then you can bring that whole structure back into the ownership of the self-managed super fund.
Okay.
And bingo, you're now paying off the debt via the super.
Right.
You're getting income coming into the super fund, which is now being taxed at 15%.
Mm-hmm.
Not at your marginal tax rate, which it would have been before.
Well, that's right. There's a big saving right there.
So instead of 32%, it's 15%
yep,
tax.
17% right? There, free hit as far as
that's just fantastic. Yeah. And so you go, well, and then she went, oh my God, I had no idea, Jeff, and so we've got a whole group of actually, all sorts of different types of people who are bloody good at what they do in their own area of profession. But this knowledge gap we bridge constantly, like we're doing it daily, Yeah.
I agree. And like,
Yeah.
I often joke about it, but I'm a big believer in the theory of being the dumbest person in the room. Okay. You can't know all. I mean, your trade or your world, all right, but you can't know about everything.
Yeah.
So why in the world would you not engage people who actually have these skills, who are the experts, who actually know all the ins and outs of it? It's well, quite frankly, it's a smart shortcut, and it's a way to actually maximise your advantage in this, and obviously your income. Some great questions coming through. So I just want to actually make a mention of that. I did pop one up there before about. From actually Leanne is being very, very keen today. Fantastic questions. Thanks, Leanne. She has put, I never knew that you couldn't claim financial advisor fee. Now, I was like that. I thought it was a tax deduction as well. So,
yes,
really interesting to
yes.
hear.
So, just for Leanne's clarity there,
yep.
An upfront fee, right, for financial planning advice is not tax deductible.
Okay.
Ongoing fees are.
Right.
So because then they're linked into assessable income.
Okay.
So tax deductible income coming from the investments that you're involved in. Therefore, your fee is tax deductible.
All right.
Now that needs to be obviously clarified by an accountant, because I'm not an accountant. But an accountant once told me that, so I believe it's true. And so the upfront is not, Leanne, but the ongoing generally is. And because the upfront is treated as a capital item, not a revenue item. So revenue items are tax deductible. Capital items are not tax deductible.
Okay, so what's to stop you from, the initial fee being a very low fee and then the ongoing fees being a bit higher?
If you can organise the service provider to structure it that way, happy days.
Yeah.
But once again, you've got to be careful, because if you're deliberately dudding the tax department, then it's not kosher.
Oh, I'm not considering dudding. I'm just looking at the structure of things. Like anything, it's about putting things in the right box.
I know it is, but you could say the same about selling a car, right? So, what you're buying a car from a bloke, and he happens to be your mate, right? And you're a big car man,
I am.
right?
I love my cars.
And the bloke says, "Oh, look, Aaron, mate, you're a mate. Look, I'll tell you what, it's a $40,000 car.
Yep.
All right, 20,000 down on the paperwork, so the stamp duty is based on 20, and give me 20 grand cash."
And watch how quickly you'll be flagged, right? Watch how quickly.
That's illegal. You're dudding the government, and it's actually a jailable offence.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. No, look, if you're doing that sort of thing, you're going to get flagged. So and I agree. And these days, with the tech that's available and all the algorithms and the AI and all of that, things like that get noticed. So I asked it purely because I wondered how accountants and financial advisors structure it.
Yeah, so there is obviously an accepted norm within a parameter.
Sure.
And you're dead right.
Okay.
If it was going to be like, if every financial planner in the world is charging, in Australia is charging between, say, 5 to 10 grand, and they see a few of these things come through at 1,500.
Yep. You're going to ask
but a much higher ongoing, you go,
yeah.
No,
they're on top of that sort of thing.
Okay.
Another question was, I'm going to bring that one up there. Now, what is a bear trust?
Okay. So it's spelled BARE.
Yeah, it's
as in the bear
in the forest.
Not the bear in the woods.
No, this one's it is in the woods.
So Leanne, a bear trust is a separate trust that's used to own the asset, i.e. the block of land, and the property that it gets built on.
Sure.
Because at that stage, the land is simply secured by the super fund, which is owned by the bear trust.
Okay.
And then once it's all about a two-part contract coming into one-part contract. One contract to buy the land, a second contract to do the construction.
Okay.
And then so that you bring them together when the tenant comes into the property after it's constructed.
Right.
So you've built the boarding house, or you've built the NDIS home, or
whatever
the little factory or whatever it is. And then that bear trust, the units in that bear trust become owned by your super fund. And that's how you get your super fund to end up owning that property.
And the tax
advantage. And it's called a bear trust. It's a particular
trust. I'll tell you what, the financial people, their obsession with animals. We've got bulls, we've got bears, we've got all sorts of things going on.
Very clever.
They're all over the place. Yeah. Another question that I do want to bring forward as well, thank you for all these questions coming through. What happens to the super fund that has assets attached to it? When you die.
Oh, fantastic. Guys, great questions
Yeah,
today.
I tell
The
you
team
what.
had really got onto it.
Really appreciate. Thank you, Leanne. Leanne's on
Go
fire.
Leanne.
Some great
Yes.
questions.
Where's Leanne live? She a Perth girl?
Oh, Perth girl. Yes,
Right,
Perth.
right,
Well, I believe so. I very much
Unless
hope so.
someone's up.
Unless she parachutes in.
Well, unless it's one of your, your adoring fans from Houston.
Oh, yeah. So we got such a great
Yeah.
following. in
So
Houston.
some of this goes to America.
Yeah, our big
Okay.
US audience at the moment, which is
Okay.
great.
So Leanne that's a bloody good question. Okay. So Leanne, with all super, and a self-managed super fund is no different. The rules are the same. You have to nominate a beneficiary in your super fund
Okay.
who will receive all the money in your superannuation fund account.
Yep.
Okay. On your death.
Okay.
So, and you have, and it's such a great question because you can nominate, let's say Leanne's married, Fred, right?
Good old Fred.
She's married to Fred, and she says, no, the kids are going to be fine. I want Fred to get the lot.
Okay.
Right. So she nominates Fred
Right.
as the sole binding nomination. Okay. Sort of death nomination.
Yep.
Just it's a sort of
Essentially like a beneficiary from a
correct.
will. Yeah.
Yeah. And therefore it can never be challenged.
Okay.
And so if it's a binding nomination on Fred's death.
Okay.
And so Fred gets all the cash. No one can argue about it.
Right.
Leanne might go, no, I'm happy to give it half to Fred and the other half split between the three kids.
Okay.
So she can do that. Or Leanne could go, no, I'm going to keep it simple. I've got my own will. I'm just going to make my legal guardian, which is my will, the sole beneficiary. And in the will, I've got all the rules to say who gets what.
Okay.
Because Leanne might have, it might be a big, she might love cats, so the cat home gets a bit, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
your wishes being respected.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, so
No, that's brilliant, mate.
So
okay.
another point.
Yep.
Another point. There are two areas that don't have to form part of your will at all.
Right.
One are superannuation, because you can nominate someone to get your money.
Okay.
So it passes probate. It's got nothing to do with your will. There's no hold up.
Okay.
You get the cash. All right. As soon as
No hold up. So, what about when people contest it and all that, when they do with a will? Can you do that with a super?
Well, that's why a binding nominated beneficiary
Sure.
is what Leanne would need to do if she wants Fred to get that money.
Okay, gotcha.
The kids can't even dispute it.
Right.
That kids could go, no, look, I bloody hate Dad. He's been a prick of it like forever. We're going to challenge. And if Leanne does a binding nominated beneficiary,
Sure.
the kids are cut out of it.
Well, we don't want the kids cut out, but
that's only if Leanne wants that, because it's her choice, right?
I agree. Well, where I was going to go on this is I think you kind of bang on. A lot of people get upset about this. Well, you don't know after you pass away, but I do know people have said, I'm concerned that when I pass away, that other people are going to start contesting and sort of the vultures will come out.
Yep.
This is a great way of keeping the vultures at bay.
Totally.
Yeah.
Especially with broken marriages, right?
Yeah.
So broken homes provide an absolute cesspit of problems, or they can. Let's say Leanne, let's say Fred is second time round with Leanne.
Yep.
Okay. But Fred was married to Maria and he had 3 kids to Maria.
Sure.
And so let's just say Leanne and Fred Leanne did not have a binding nomination beneficiary so that Fred could get all the cash.
Yep.
And it was not bolted down. Much easier for Maria's kids and Maria, Fred's previous wife and children,
People
to
need
come
to know
in
this.
and give Leanne a hard time.
Okay.
Like I've seen it happen, and it's dangerous.
I've seen it happen too.
Yeah.
And it just breaks up the family forever.
Yeah.
And you see, as I say, a vulture mentality. It's quite disappointing.
Predatory behavior, Aaron. Predatory behavior is very bad. Man's inhumanity to man. You see it a lot.
You certainly do. 100% agree with you. I've got a friend.
An estate planning lawyer, by the way,
Mm.
are the lawyers that we would refer that work to. We don't do it.
Okay.
We're not lawyers.
No.
We just know how the system works.
Sure.
And then we refer them to our own preferred estate planning lawyers.
Yep.
And they come in and do the work.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Just had to make that point.
I've got a strange question for you that I don't know if super works into this, right? So basically I've got a friend who's got a home that she wants to sell in the next few months.
Mm-hmm.
The capital gains on it are quite considerable.
Investment property?
No, she's living in it.
Yeah, she's living in it.
She's living in it. So she wants to sell the house.
Yeah.
Now, obviously the family home has exemptions and all that.
It's completely exempt from any capital gains tax.
Okay. Because someone was advising her about, selling it, putting money into super and all not going to carry on. And she was actually concerned about that. And I said that to her. I said, look, it's a family home. It's not covered. So I'm very glad that you confirmed that for me.
Yeah, no tax.
No, because that's a consideration for a lot of people, especially with the property booms that have taken place across Australia.
Yes.
That rise in the value of your home is all well and good. You still have to buy another home. And all of them have risen. So, that gap. So I said that to her, and she goes, "Oh, are you sure?" Because someone's basically been frightening her about capital gains on the house.
No capital gains.
Yeah,
not at all. Yeah.
Just always good to confirm these things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But of course, that rationalisation of assets linked into your lifestyle going forward are really, really important discussions to have, because
completely agree.
She might be living in Korean and she's got the joint's worth $1.5 million.
Yep.
But a daughter lives in York. And she could go, well, it'd be nice to close to daughter and my grandchildren.
Yeah.
Go and buy a cheap place in York.
Yep.
Cheaper place. She might end up putting $500,000 into super. And then she's got this tax-free drawdown after 60, which she probably is anyway.
Yeah.
And so got to be working and all that sort of stuff in order to get the money into super. You just can't be retired and throw it in. There's a few rules around it.
Yeah, of course.
But even if she's had a part-time job, she still qualifies to manipulate the superannuation rules.
Sure.
So, there's so much gets left on the table when people don't engage in the discussion and get the right answers.
Well, in this particular case, she's 45.
Yep.
Right?
Youngster.
Okay. So 15 years to go,
Yep.
right, as far as if she wants to be self-funded. And she keeps saying, it's ages away.
That's not.
No, it's not. It's really not. It sneaks up on you pretty quick.
Oh, God, yeah. Like if you're going to put one of these high-yielding properties into a self-managed super fund, you need 7 or 8 years to pay the debt off. Right? And then you get to 60-ish, you happy days, you've got $1 million property producing 8% yield.
That's right.
$80,000 a year, tax-free. So that's the sort of discussions we'll have. We'll go, well, hang on a minute. You've got $1 million property now, you're in your early 50s, it's getting you $700 a week rent. After expenses, about $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's 3%. Why would you want 3%? Taxable
3%. So you're actually really you're losing money because of inflation. You are actually going back.
It's crazy.
I'll tell you right now, some great comments and coming through. And I was going to bring this up earlier. Lisa has put through a great comment about really simple, straight to the point. What about crypto? When we're talking about this is where I was going to bring this up.
Beauty.
It is a beauty. And what I was going to say before, and I think this is a great credit to you, is this. Okay, for your history as a financial advisor, you couldn't talk about it.
No.
So you have actually opened yourself up to so much freedom to actually be able to give people, a more honest view of what's going on in the world. Because before, under those circumstances, you're not allowed to talk about that, which is just.
Well, that's part of the regulatory world. As a planner, you couldn't talk about it.
No.
At least as a non-planner, at least I can talk about it and educate people. I can't give advice because no one can. Yeah. But we can give people conduits to easy to read, publicly available information.
Sure. You're a conduit, not you're not telling people what to do. You're not giving advice. You are just opening the door. And
opportunities that Edge Radio provide is fabulous for this. Most people can read, and they can, without being too condescending, they can read.
Of course.
And it's all there. It's not hard. It's just take the time to lock yourself away for an hour and just read the stuff.
Well, this is your future, mate.
Yeah.
Like, when you get to that age where, you want to retire, you want to have everything, and you want to be comfortable, that you want to live that lifestyle. Yes. Well, invest a little time in yourself now.
You've got to do it.
You've really
You've got to do it, because the old age pension only pays 42 grand non-means tested.
Mm-hmm.
That's for a couple. That's for a couple.
For a couple.
Yeah, it's like it's 36,000 for a single person. And
if you want to live like a hermit, that'll work.
That's right. You need to be in a cave, catching your own fish.
Pretty much.
I mean,
and look, I know someone who works in the government, and they're actually dealing a lot with people who are being means tested in that regard for pensions and things. And I'm telling you right now, okay, geez, the hoops they have to jump through, the carry on, the paperwork, the dramas, the drawn out process, the government.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is a really, really important point you bring up, because the government are being hammered budgetarily, right?
No doubt about
that's
it.
Actually, I think that's in a real word, but I think you know what I mean. And at every level, and the aged care issue is a problem. Okay. The inefficiency of bureaucracy is a problem. The number of people that are boomers that are getting out and stop paying taxes, with a lesser number of people
correct
going to work hard and paying taxes. There's a less number of those compared to the retirees. So the system's starting to fray at the edges.
You know what? You brought a great point. Okay, the boomers are called the boomers for so many reasons. I mean, there was a boom, okay, in birth rates, because in the war, that's when that they created that boom, and we get the people have retired from it. But what I'm getting at is there's more of a population amount in that demographic. Okay, so you take that out of the whole scheme of things. You take that out of the economy, it's going to have a larger effect, because it's a larger amount of people.
Totally.
Who were putting and contributing to the economy.
Before. Yeah, like how's this? I've got I've got booked in to have a squamous cell thing cut out in a couple of weeks. Right? On that leg right there.
Sounds like fun, mate.
And of course, it's not a melanoma, but it's more serious than a basal cell carcinoma.
Okay.
So it's got to be cut out, right? And they've got to have a little pathology test done, right? Normally, you would go in, get the job done, and then they would say what the bill is.
Yep.
And then you would pay the difference between the gap, right?
Sure.
I couldn't believe it. They phoned me up the other day and said, right, Mr. Bowman, they've changed the rules around a bit. Yeah, what's that? I go, well, you need to put $500 down now, because that's how we're doing it. And the rest of it's got to be paid 2 weeks before the operation. And, of course, that means my operation's in less than 2 weeks.
Yep.
Which means I've got to pay the whole $2 grand up front.
Now, this is your health. And if you don't have the means to do that, right, and something that I'm very proud about in Australia is we do have a good health system that, well, theoretically, the ambulance ramping would probably disagree with that at the moment. But as far as, compared to, say, the US system, okay, we're miles ahead of that. And you can go into a hospital and you can get a level of care. But the fact that now becomes the haves and the have-nots, because if you haven't got that money sitting in the account,
you're a public patient, right?
That's right.
And you wait, and the old squamous cell carcinoma grows and grows and grows and grows.
Okay.
And you're in all sorts of strife. And so yeah. And the reason for that, though, the reason I'm saying that is that because I really had to dig in and say, look, this is like gouging. I got a bit annoyed about it.
Yep.
And I got the medical manager actually to explain why. And she said, well, this is what's happening. The private health cover people will not pay out until Medicare have paid their bit.
Right.
And Medicare are so far behind in paying out. So the medical practices that they're running businesses like you and I,
yep,
they're waiting ages to get their money.
Oh,
so they're now being forced to bloody nail the patient to pay the whole fee up front today before they'll even confirm your booking.
Wow. And look, whether you like it or not, business, health business is like anything, a cash flow business. You've got to consider your cash flow. And if you're having to pay for these expenses, it does damage the business. So if you're waiting 6 months to get paid.
So that's all been brought about by Medicare being under the pump.
Gotcha.
And taking ages to pay the medical professions. And they're waiting. And they're going, oh, bugger, we've got to start charging our poor clients up front. Otherwise, we'll go broke.
Well, here's a great idea. Put yourself in the right financial situation where you've got a bit of money in the bank there and you've got that safety margin. You've got the freedom, okay? This is not about, in my opinion, this is not about being, a person who wants to be gluttonous of, what more. It's a case of, quite frankly, buying your own freedom.
Totally.
Options.
Yeah.
Options.
That's why we have the Money Matters events.
Yeah.
Like we've got our next one next Monday night.
I will be there, my friend.
They're looking forward to seeing.
Get so much from them. Every time I go, I think, wow,
Yeah, no, they're great. We're packing them out every time. The crypto thing is so important that Lisa mentioned earlier as one of the 5th asset classes to put into your self-managed super funds. Why does it have to go into a self-managed super? Well, you can't put it in your retail fund. You can't put it in your uni super fund. You can't put it in your Australian super fund. It's got to be self-managed. And so we work with some fabulous people that can get the self-managed super funds at the right cost. We provide all the education around that, which we can do. I mean, the last 5 years with, say, a blockchain, like a little blockchain portfolio or bundle of assets.
Sure.
You know how much it's been averaging each year for the last 5 years?
Hit me.
On this 61% a year.
61. Okay. Now, a lot of people are jumping them down with excitement because they're making 6%.
61.
6%, 61. So 10 times. Now,
244% over the last 4 years.
Wow.
Like, it's outrageous.
And okay, we were talking about before of topping up your super, putting the extra money in, then bringing it up to 30 grand a year.
Yeah.
That's compounding.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. At that kind of rate, if you, I mean, everybody's situation is different, and I'm speaking for myself, not, everybody's financial situation, they've got to look at themselves and what serves them. But for me, okay, to be putting money back in and using super and crypto and all of these techniques to sort of supercharge it, the compounding is just on and on and on and on. That's right.
We all remember the rule of 72 from last time. Divide the investment return into 72, and that'll give you roughly how long it will take to double your money, right?
Yep.
And so how long does 60 go into 72? Oh, geez, 1 and a bit.
Yep.
That's 1 and a bit years to double your money. So if you've got 100 grand in super and you say, oh, well, I'll put 30 in, right?
Yep.
So 30, after 1 and a bit years goes to 60. 60 goes to 120.
That's right.
120 goes to 240.
Yep.
It doesn't take long to get from, $250,000 to $500,000 to $1 million in your shortened time, because now you're just in your late 50s.
Sure.
Or ideally late 40s. But even if you're in late 50s, you're still going to live to 85 to 90. So you've got to get onto it. Yeah,
you got to, exactly, and enjoy that quality of your lifestyle. We really have to end up the show, but I will just throw this out. In the last sort of 2 years of my life, I've had to say goodbye to a couple of my relatives who, who obviously have lived a very long time, and when through relationships, not actually my blood relatives, and like. One at 96, one at 94. These are big innings, okay? And I literally think about them and the way that they were living it towards the end, it's not fair, right? Because they'd done their savings, they'd planned their lives to live into their 70s, and they've lived in their 90s, which is great. But how about if you actually build a lifestyle and a structure that you can enjoy a good lifestyle to the very end, right?
Till the very end.
And the best health care and be looked after.
Yeah. And with the system failing us now, it's like the public system. It's so important to make sure that you maintain your own financial independence and get the right education and knowledge and training. And if you need to get advice, we can send you the right financial plan or the right accountant and get things cranking along.
Couldn't agree. Well, let's get on that. Thank you very much for being part of the show, everybody. So thanks for the questions that came through. Wonderful to see people asking, and great questions too. Right? That's the thing. It's great to be interactive because, I'm sitting here and I'm looking from my perspective. You're the man who's been in the game for a long time. You're looking from your perspective. But isn't it great to bring fresh eyes into it?
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Yeah, it really is. All righty. Well,
very, very good thing.
Absolutely. That is the end of the show. Thank you very much for being part of Wealth by Design here on Edge Radio Australia.